Um, the topic that I want to talk about is about Chinese. Um, the Chinese, I didn't know, but they're the general part of the world. You know, the general population in percentage, they are about 60 to 70% of the world's population. And then you were to say why? Why are they? Why are they? How would you say it? So much, right? Here in Mexico, they have restaurants everywhere, in each and every city, in each and every town. And so it's weird because um, when when Domino's got here to Mexico, which is one of the first restaurants, pizza restaurants. Then later on, it was Pizza Hut, but the first restaurant was Domino's, right? And as soon as it got to Mexico, the employees, they were trained to make pizza. As soon as they got fired, the first thing that they did was open up, pizza shops out of their houses, and that's what happened. Everybody started making pizza. Everybody, you know, carnivals, everybody started making pizza as soon as they knew how to make pizza. You know, as far as hamburgers, everybody started to make hamburgers. You know, everybody. And so it's like when McDonald's got here, everybody started to make hamburgers, and there's people making hamburgers out of their houses, out of little stands. You know, making French fries. When all that came from the states over here to Mexico, everybody started doing it. The fried chicken, the Kentucky. When Kentucky got here to Mexico, everybody started to make fried chicken. To give them competition, right? And what I don't understand, you know, what I don't understand is that you know, the Chinese, they have their restaurants, right? And they contract Mexicans very much like all of these other businesses have done, but yet no one is capable uh, to open up a Chinese restaurant. In my life, I don't know how many years here in Mexico. About I got deported when I was 21. I'm 37 now. About 16 years in Mexico, and I've never seen a Mexican Chinese, shop. You know, it's like frowned upon, or I don't know why. It just they don't give them competition, or don't care to give them competition for some reason. And the Chinese, I mean, everybody here in Mexico, they know it. Anybody that like takes them into consideration, that's old enough, you're to say what's up with the Chinese here in Mexico, but like no comment. If someone says something is, how would you say it, is straightforward, somebody like me, I would say, the Chinese, for some reason, they dominated. They're all over our country. You don't see any white people doing what they're doing. You don't see any black people doing what they're doing. You don't see anybody, for that matter, you know, uh, doing that, you know, posting up restaurants and saying to everybody in some way that they can't do it. And well, the restaurants are there all over the country. Here in where I'm at, there's a whole bunch. There's at least 20 Chinese restaurants. And guess who's in them? Chinese people, right? Hardly any work their own shop. Sometimes you see them working, right? They're like supervisors. They train people, right? And that's it. And they're there helping out, supposedly. When you go to see, they're there. They'll participate. I've seen it. But whether they do it actually, I don't know. Like, these people, they stand out. Like, for the most part, they are like supervisors, and they train Mexicans to work their shops, to work their restaurants. And every time that I go, that's what I see. You know, that's what I see. That's what I've seen, right? And so you're to say, what are they doing? Who are they, and why are they all over the country? And why is it that no one could, how would you say it? Um, no one dares give them competition. When everybody knows the recipe. When easily they could, be put on the street because they're not like some franchise like Domino's or like Kentucky. You know, they're not. So if any Mexican does what they have been doing for years, they'll kick them to the street. They'll kick them to the street. You know, especially when you come into, how would you say it? You're saying, you know what? Well, we would rather support a Mexican Chinese restaurant than a Chinese restaurant because you're foreign. Because all the money, it's like donating, money just because, it's kind of stupid, you know. It's kind of stupid when you have, the mercado, which is the centro, full of Chinese products, made in China, made in China, made in China, made in China, you know. So I don't know what the Chinese are. All I know is that they are a very big part of the general population of the world's general population, and that if you're to ask me personally, what are the Chinese and why are they? How would you say it? A massive amount of the world's general population. The response I would give is that this world is not a world; it's just a kingdom, and it's theirs. you know, and that the people from Europe, you know, uh, different races of white people that seem to be going extinct, according to the Chinese, you know, are from different kingdoms where they are the majority. And take into consideration, it's not one race of white people. Most people think they're white. It's one race. It's not. You know, the black may be like that. The black people may be an entire race, but the whites are different. I've seen them. They're different races. They're different races. And my theory is that these races come from other kingdoms in which they are the majority, very much like the Chinese are the majority here. And so that's just my theory. I don't know whether it's true or not. It sounds a little bit crazy, but I mean, I were to ask myself, what's going on with the Chinese here in Mexico and in any part of the world? I mean, in the States, they do the same thing, you know. They have restaurants everywhere. Restaurants with the same ingredients, with the same spices, you know, restaurants that have trained and trained and trained individuals that don't seem to take advantage of what they have learned, because otherwise the Chinese will end up on the street. The mystery is, why hasn't it happened? And what keeps it from happening?